Welcome back, everybody, to This Is My Bourbon Podcast. I'm your host, Perry, and with me, as he always is, it's the whiskey mutant who's not sick anymore, Eric.
I know, I took a week off.
Well, you deserved it.
Yeah, let me take a week every once in a while.
Who's
this guy?
When you need it. This guy, though, is our special guest for the entire episode. He's been with us as we've recorded your Patreon
3
stuff,
days.
too. We've not let him leave your basement,
He has
which is
stayed in my
crazy.
basement for 3 days.
Yeah, I've been the hired help for a little while. They've been giving me food and water. It's okay.
He's clean.
I promise.
He's clean.
He's rocked your children to sleep,
Yeah.
which is crazy because most of them are teenagers now. It's it's one of the founders of the Bond. You might know him as Logan or the Doogie Howser of the bourbon world.
I don't know about that.
The youngest master distiller.
Master Blender?
Blender, I mean.
Yeah.
That's insane, dude. Well, I'm glad you haven't left my basement.
Yeah.
You can stay longer and make some whiskey.
You can stay longer if you want to, I think is the operative way of us
There's
talking
no
about
choice.
that.
I may be able to set up a still in the corner over there. Get to work on a couple things.
I mean, sounds good to me.
I like the way that you said that as like you have to do it. Like it's it's so conducive to like your being that you need to set up something so that you can clarify, a mesh.
Yeah.
You have to do it.
Yeah. It's like I have to. I feel compelled to. Like we have to have more bourbon. I mean, that's the short of it.
We do feel that way. We do have to have more bourbon, but we do also have to have you join the Patreon over at patreon.com/mybourbonpodcast for as little as $1 a month, but for as little as $5 a month. That is when you can get the bonus content. That also this week includes Logan. We recorded with him for Pours from the Floor and the pregame chats, which also comes out every week before the main episode. And you might also be listening to this on Patreon right now, but if you're not, you could have been getting this episode early and uncut on the Tuesday before this episode comes out with some bonus content. We're going to be doing some extra stuff with Logan, too, that he doesn't know about yet.
Ooh, okay.
I don't even know about this.
Well,
I don't even know.
I don't either. I'm just kind of flying by the seat of my pants, man.
You just made that up on the spot.
I did totally make that up on the
Kind of
spot.
reel them in.
Yeah, we're going to find out together. But we do normally kick off episodes with a segment called Flying Blind, or there's Sips and Snacks. I didn't know if you were going to do Sips and Snacks.
Well, I thought, why don't we let Logan choose? But also, I keep seeing this purple bottle over here that Logan brought.
Yes.
And I feel like, Logan, I like to pair snacks and like whiskey. And this is a little different than a normal whiskey. So I thought, why don't we try that as our Sips and Snacks, because it's kind of a fused product, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So what he's talking about is Thornbush here. This is our blackberry bourbon. So this is a 2-year-old straight wheated bourbon. 45% wheat from MGP.
Interesting.
And then all natural blackberry. It's water, blackberry, and citric acid that comes from lemons. And then the color comes from carrots, actually. So
carrots?
Yeah. It's called coloring fruits.
I can get my veggies in?
Yeah. you don't have to go to the gym anymore. You can.
Yes.
I've heard you can just drink this. I can't make any promises, though. Yeah, you'll go for it. It's. I kind of started planning for this and like developing it in the fall of 2023.
Gotcha.
And so my hometown, I'm from Carlisle, Kentucky, or Nicholas County. We have a blackberry festival every single year. Since I was young and in the Beam Institute at UK, I always wanted to do a blackberry bourbon.
Nice.
And so that's kind of how this started. It took me about 8 months to get kind of the syrupy taste out of it. So it didn't taste like Robitussin or anything like that. But I'm really proud of it.
So I want to also
really good.
talk about this for a second too. Logan is very young. He's 24, which I say very young as like
He's not that young.
I know
He's a man.
He's okay. Don't say that like you're gonna.
What?
I don't know. I was 24 when I started the podcast too. So it's not like, you're so young that you don't have any, familiarity at least with the whiskey industry. But it's very cool to me to talk to somebody who's been through the Beam Institute, which is something that we've not really explored too much on the podcast. And I want to kind of pick your brain a little bit about that the further we get into it. but we gotta explore the Thornbush here as it were.
Yeah, so it has a super strong blackberry nose.
This is crazy, man.
That smells so nice.
It tastes so good.
Oh, I haven't even tasted it yet.
I couldn't wait. You kept talking. I just started drinking.
And so you get a little bit of the bourbon on the back end, not too much.
That is nice. That is a good mix in your we're all drinking bourbon. We're trying this sample and that sample and this blind flight and all that. You take a little break, in between pours or something and have that. I like that.
Yeah, it's a little light. It doesn't feel very syrupy or very heavy. And that's kind of one of the things I wanted to carry through with it because, a lot of flavored whiskeys, it's just like cough syrup.
So let me ask you one thing about this, just from a technical standpoint. Bourbon, to be called bourbon, has to be 80 proof, right? How is it allowed to be labeled as bourbon, even though it's 75 proof?
Yeah, so I'll say shout out to the Beam Institute on this one. One of the classes, they basically taught us about all the legislative parts of all this.
They taught you the workarounds.
Federal regulations. So this is actually a distilled spirit specialty product, which I tell my coworkers is the Wild West for bourbon.
Heck yeah,
you can kind of put whatever you want to on the label, and as long as it's within reason, they'll approve it. And so that's how we got around it. So
pushing the boundaries.
Yep.
Heck yeah.
Got to do what you can, right?
I like it, man.
Bottled by our friends at Whiskey Thief in Frankfurt, too. Shout out. They're one of the undiscovered, unsung gems, formerly known as Three Boys, which I know I've talked about before. But this is crazy fun and so good.
Yeah.
And I will say, too, I'm gonna rat on myself for a second because, I'm willing to admit when I was wrong. But I think when this first came out, or at least when it was first being marketed in Lexington, was probably roughly a year ago.
So we launched last July.
Okay, so yeah. So we were driving around Lexington, and we saw a billboard, and my wife goes, "Do you think you're gonna try Thornbush on the podcast?" And I was like, we don't really do flavored bourbons on the show. It's kind of, not against like our ethos or anything. It's just like, not what we really, it's not really what we do.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But I'm gonna have to take the boot out and say this is worth trying, man. I like this. I'm excited to try this as well as a flavoring agent in some kind of cocktail. I don't know what.
Has anybody made a cocktail or anything with this that you would recommend?
Yeah. So actually, kind of our signature cocktail we go to with it is 2 parts lemonade, 1 part Thornbush. And so great summertime drink. I know we talked about this behind the paywall. Join if you haven't. But essentially, Jeff Ruby's actually picked it up, made a cocktail out of it, and they put 24 karat gold flakes in it, champagne simple syrup, a little bit of lemon juice. So kind of fancied it up a little bit.
Okay. All right.
I like that. It's very mutant. I like the mix thing, snacks and all that. And I was like, let's just do that on this because it's the perfect thing. Like you get that blackberry, I get my vegetables right now. He said it. But it's awesome.
I'm not a doctor. I just play one on TV. But I can...
It's true.
Yeah.
You're Dookie.
He's
Dookie
I heard Dookie for a second, but I know what you're...
Hey, I've been called worse. Yeah. Sure. But yeah.
You do work with your college buddies, which is...
We heard all about you buddies on the special stuff.
Yeah, a blessing and a curse. But yeah, so the fun thing for me is like, as much as, I know we all enjoy high proof pours, we don't necessarily want to be drinking 125 proof bourbon in the middle of summer.
That's true.
Maybe just me, but it gets kind of hard to drink.
I've taken Knob Creek to the beach before.
Okay, I get that. I can say like Four Roses is a beach bourbon. Yeah. But so it kind of turns bourbon from that like fall, winter, and spring drink into a summertime drink as well. So it's kind of taking something old and traditional that
Definitely.
is pretty saturated, but making it new again.
Well, I mean, for the longest time, people were, making alcohol at home. They were making moonshine.
Yeah,
and they were also trying to find ways to make it more palatable as well with different flavors. And, there is still, even though bourbon is like in a boom right now for, we can wax one way or another about whether or not the boom is ending or the bubble is bursting. But flavoring a spirit, you're right, is like kind of a time-honored tradition for people who aren't willing to, embrace it for what it is, or they're trying to accept it in a different format, And I was I spent 7 years in undergrad.
Hey, nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, well, I can't help but think of Tommy Boy when he goes, a lot of people spend 7 years in college, and David Spade goes, yeah, they're called doctors. And I got my undergrad after 7 years. But anyway, I was doing my senior project, which I worked on rebranding Wild Turkey.
Okay. Wow.
Which I had a lot of fun with. And I had a professor who said, what you should do instead is create a brand of flavored bourbons. And I was like, I really don't want to do that. Like, that sounds really, really terrible to me. But at the same time, like, I try this and I'm like, maybe I should have done that back in, 2018.
Yeah, it almost seems sacrilegious at first.
It does. That's the thing that I keep going back to. Like, again, like telling on myself, saying I should have tried this when it, was advertised to me.
Yeah, it's like the saying, it shouldn't work, but it does.
It absolutely
But
does.
it brings people to your brand too, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
people that probably are a little intimidated by a neat pour of bourbon or something, you get that. It's got some purple on it. It's got the, just the word blackberry, like that probably draws people in. And then it's delicious. And so, who knows? Maybe somebody goes to bourbon just like, I will admit, I got into Wild Turkey because of the honey. Wild Turkey honey. When it first came out, forever ago, that shows my age, I was putting it in my freezer, and that was my pour. And eventually I was like, I want to start drinking some whiskey and whatever. So I think it's a great product. The more I thought about it, I said, I've tasted something like this before, and it's just like a blackberry smash cocktail when you smash the blackberries in there. Yep. So that's a great sips and snacks right there. That's all in one, baby.
Let me ask you this too, because I know you mentioned that being from Carlisle and having the Blackberry Festival and everything. Is there room for expansion beyond just the blackberry flavoring?
So we can talk off camera about that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All
so
right.
I have one I've already done up that, to be honest with you, is my favorite over the blackberry. It's taking the rest of the group some convincing.
All right.
But in my opinion, it blows this out.
All right, episode's over. Let's go talk behind the camera.
But yeah, I mean, you made a very great point. It's very much a entry point for a lot of people into bourbon. We're actually starting to export our products into Lithuania and Poland.
Wow.
And so for us, we found out that a lot of people over there don't like just Jim Beam or Jack Daniels.
Sure.
They like Jim Beam Honey or Jack Daniels Honey or Jack Daniels Fire. Yeah. And so by giving them basically a more approachable version of the bourbon they're wanting to have, it allows us to kind of get in their glass a little more often.
There you go.
That's awesome.
Eric, do you want me to ask you the next question first, or do we want to ask Logan?
Let's ask Logan. He's the guest of honor today.
May as well. Logan, I'm going to ask you the question that we normally ask next, which is, what have you been drinking recently?
Ooh, that's a tough one.
Because you can't remember? Or?
No, I can remember. It's picking my favorite out of them. I'll give a couple of shout outs. My friend Adam at Lost Lantern. I have a bottle of Boulder Craft Spirits bourbon that was finished in an Armagnac barrel. So it was 7 years old, 51 corn, 49% malted barley. Super unique. I've really been loving that. And then honestly, Ben Holiday Red Wheat.
Oh, yeah, we've had that.
You know, I really like that. The Rickhouse Proof is phenomenal. But kind of my go-to is Russell's Reserve barrel picks and single barrels. You know, anytime I see Camp Nelson or Tyrone F on the label, I feel like I have to pick it up.
Tyrone F, man. That's where it's at. Completely agree.
I like the G's. I like the G's, but
also is
if
one
anything
of my
you want
favorites.
to try, you're free to try anything. I got my Russells are up there if you needed anything. I know we got plenty on the table, but if you just want to get up and go try some whiskey, the show doesn't care.
Mid conversation, just Logan just wanders away, and we're like, all right, well, that's fine.
Anything, nothing's off
Weirder
limits.
things have happened on this show.
It's
Let me
true.
be honest with you.
If I disappear for a little bit, you know why.
Well, I mean, you have been down here for 3 days. So.
And it's the first time that's been offered. So, I mean.
I said you have to earn your keep first.
We wanted to make sure that you were
I
worthy.
promise.
Eric, what about you, buddy?
Well, as you know, I wasn't on the episode. It took, good 2-week break because I got the respiratory stuff that everybody in the county is having. So I haven't had a whole lot, but I will say some Wild Turkey 101 just because I was just I wanted some whiskey. But I didn't feel like going through the, the motions of figuring out what I want to have tonight. I just give me some Wild Turkey 101. Had that. But once I started feeling better, I went back to, Logan, me and Perry opened a Jack Daniel's Barrel Proof that a store in town, Ernie's. I don't know.
Huge supporters of us.
Yeah,
great people.
Nice.
I've seen that bottle there and some other stuff. But they have a Jack Daniel's Barrel Proof that I think it's one that at first you're kind of like, it's just a Jack Daniel's Barrel Proof. But I let it sit because it had been open for like a week or so, and I went back to it. Oh my gosh, it's got that Zagnut bar, coconut, peanut butter thing going on that's just so much more prominent. And I've probably snuck into that thing a few times over the last couple of days just because it's been one of those that's like, I want some more of that. So... I don't know. Do you like Jack Daniel's Barrel Proof? You had a lot of that?
I've not had the regular whiskey, but I've had the Barrel Proof rye. So I actually just picked up a single barrel pick that was aged in Coy Hill 1 or 2.
Oh, boy.
But it was a Barrel Proof rye, and it was phenomenal.
Yeah, so that's probably what I've had. People know this story already, but Jack Daniel's Barrel Proof wasn't highly accepted around these parts.
This is my favorite story
when it first came out.
Eric
but back when Liquor Barn would do the kind of in-person releases before COVID, everybody just always knew to line up on Saturday mornings. What are they going to have? And I went there one morning after work. I'd work night shift then, and everybody's like, they got Stag Junior today. We talked. You had some talk about Stag on the pregame chats or you shared with your friends, but I was with this guy who's just he's mad. He's just mad about everything. He's like, I'm not going to get anything. Blah, blah, blah. We get up there. You can kind of see the bottles gone by the time you get there. You're like, man, we're going to miss out. And I look over and they have Jack Daniel's Barrel Proof, and I had probably only had 1 or 2 bottles at that time. And this guy gets so mad. The Stag Junior's gone, and he just looks at me. And he's like, I wanted some high proof bourbon. I wanted something good, and the Stag Junior's gone. And I was like, hey, I'm going to pick up one of those Jack Daniel's Barrel Proof. And he was like, excuse me? I was like, no, it's really good. It's high proof. It's probably close to the same proof. He was like, this is Kentucky.
Now, I will say, for the longest time, I was in the same vein as that.
Oh.
I was
I
feel like a traitor. I feel like a traitor. I think growing up in Kentucky.
We all did. I think there was that period where we just had to wean ourselves off of only Kentucky whiskey, only Kentucky bourbon. And then as soon as we tried, a Jack Daniel's Barrel Proof, that was what set us on the path of oh, there are things out there that our eyes were opened, we were able to see that there were products that were not necessarily better because I don't know if I want to admit that there's, whiskey out there that's better than Kentucky bourbon. But at the very least, I get in the mood every now and then for something that's not Kentucky bourbon. Yeah. I think we're allowed to feel that, and I hope that guy has found, the light of the universe.
No. It made me. That's the first time I ever felt bad. That's the first time I ever felt bad for buying like 130 plus whiskey. Like this guy's he's judging me the whole time right now. He's mad. He's watching me.
You turn around and he's just watching you from behind.
I believe you would be, but you would betray Kentucky.
Yeah, legend says he's still waiting in line for George T. Stagg.
He is. He's still there.
Not even Stagg Jr. George T. Stagg.
It has to be hazmat, or I don't want.
They're like, man, we got nothing for you. We're not going to have anything for you.
It was the first time I was felt comfortable speaking out too. I was like, hey, I got a suggestion, and then he made me feel really bad. I don't think I suggested anything to somebody at Liquor Barn ever since. So.
Yeah, it's one of those places I tend to try to keep my mouth shut just in case one of those situations happen. But like you said, there are a couple of like distilleries for me that kind of brought me out of that comfort zone of thinking like Kentucky is the only whiskey producing state. And so still Austin for me was one of those first ones that kind of got me outside of that. I know that may be controversial.
No, it's not controversial, but it is for the third person at the table because he's not the biggest Texas
I've been
whiskey.
burned by Texas whiskey so much. I will say the few times that people have tricked me and got me to like say this is good, it's been still awesome. People will send me blinds and they're like, "You're gonna like this Texas whiskey," and they wait till I say I like it, and they're like, "Gotcha, it's Texas whiskey." It's been still awesome, but like some of those, I'm very anti. Like I feel like some of the stuff Texas people put in there is like, y'all gotta stop.
Armadillo skin.
Yeah. I don't know.
The soul of the Alamo.
But I will. I'll admit right here, still Austin has put some good, decent stuff out that's made me appreciate it, and I put an asterisk on Texas whiskey when it comes to still Austin.
Well, I'll throw this out there as well. Iron Root Republic. They have Sleight of Hand. It's a blend of Kentucky, Indiana, and Texas.
Oh,
so maybe a little more.
Okay.
I think I might have some Iron Root sitting around in my sample bottles of stuff that people have sent to us. So we'll have to, revisit it at some point. But,
what have you been drinking?
Man, I have not seen you in a while, so I've got some stuff to catch you up on
with a bunch of people. What?
You're talking about the Bourbon Bowl. That's what it is.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know what you're talking about.
He acts like I set that up. I didn't set that up.
We'll see.
It's not my fault.
We'll see.
Okay. Well, anyway.
Another year.
Super Bowl Sunday. We went over to my sister-in-law's new house, and her fiance works for Alltech. Works for in their legal department, and so he's constantly getting just free beer from them. I had never had their old-fashioned bourbon barrel ale.
Never seen it before.
It's phenomenal. I mean, just the perfect balance of like, I want a beer, I want an old-fashioned. It's right in the middle. It is exactly what you would want if you cannot make up your mind between the two. The next weekend, we were back over there, too, for just like a housewarming party. Somebody brought a bottle of Fernet, which, Eric, you would hate. Even though it is a little mentholy, so you might like it.
Right.
But it's I guess an aperitif is how you would describe it. A post dinner drink to help you digest your food. I love Fernet. I always say this, and it makes me sound. It makes it sound like I got a problem, but I'm an equal opportunity drinker. There are so many different things that I love that are not necessarily bourbon or whiskey. And into the realm of like herbal liqueurs, Fernet just kind of really like hits it for me. I really enjoy it. And there were, so my sister-in-law, Emma, her fiance is from Colombia. And so he's got a lot of friends who drink not bourbon. And Fernet is one of those drinks. And so he had a lot of friends that came around who were drinking Fernet and Coke.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Fernet and Coke. Okay.
Yeah. And okay, so you know at the end of The Dark Knight Rises, where Alfred's going to that that cafe, and he's always talking about like, this day I'll go to a cafe in Venice, and I'll see you across the bar, and he's talking about drinking Fernet. That's this is that drink. I'm
That
mostly
exact
talking,
one.
yeah,
The one he had in the movie.
yeah. It's this
The exact one.
drink Fernet.
Dang.
Yeah, and it's very good.
And
It's delicious. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I love it.
Well, I can't say I've tried it.
Well, you're gonna have to sometime soon.
Did you bring some?
Not right now because I didn't have a bottle of it. I'll bring it next week.
Sharing with everybody else.
You are killing me right now. I also the other day I got a bunch of beers just to like share with Lucy to try some random like German beers. If you didn't know, my last name is Ritter. That's German for night. And one of the beers that I picked up was a smoke beer. I can't
smoke beer?
Smoke beer.
Like you
Interesting.
Yeah, it's a beer that is smoked.
Oh.
Smoked.
Yeah.
And I can't exactly pronounce
Yeah.
the
I was
name.
gonna say, Eastern,
Go ahead, Logan.
Eastern
ahead.
Kentucky and German don't mix well.
Go ahead, Logan. Oh, you're gonna make me do this?
No, you don't have to. I'm just showing you what it
Yeah.
looks like.
The Fleur, Ruckenbier,
I think you nailed it.
Marzen.
I mean, Marzen is
Gray
completely
Heller
right.
Bamberg. This is a I've heard of this Legendaria, the classic smoke beer. Yeah, I know all about that one.
Yeah. I know a little bit. I think it says German beer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was very interesting. I don't think I like smoked beers though. Yeah, very strange. And then I tried Nespresso in a Norland glass today, so that was fun.
Just like coffee
Yeah, in a Norland.
in a bourbon glass.
Yeah, because why not?
Just trying it out.
I just figured may as well.
Did it taste different?
Yeah, it tastes like cardboard. Early high proof hot take. I've kind of written off the Norland glass.
Well, New Orleans.
Yeah, Norland.
What's your Logan? Do you think that glasses make a difference?
I do.
Yeah.
I think that for me, it's very weird because whenever people think of like a distillery, they think, oh, you're going to use a Glencairn.
Yeah.
And you're going to smell it out of this. This is what you're going to have in the rick house. I'm a lot of times using like glass shot glasses to just get a little sample. And
Interesting.
then actually put it into like a wine tasting glass because it actually moves a lot more of those kind of fumes up towards your nose. Lets you put your nose in the glass a little bit more, kind of gives you more of a evaluation of it.
Nice.
Interesting. You know what I just realized too? We have a box that was sent to our P.O. box too that we have to talk about. We got some stuff that was sent to us. Hang on.
What's in the box? We get sent random foods, and I got candy cigarettes from my dad the other day. It's crazy the stuff people send to us.
You're
My dad
Hanai?
lives in Hawaii.
Hanai.
Okay.
Yeah, he sends me stuff.
His never mind. Anyway, this was sent to our P.O. box, which you can also send us stuff to our P.O. box if you would like to. It's P.O. Box 22609, Lexington, Kentucky 40522. This came from our buddy Jared.
Okay. Oh, Jared.
We got a lot of stuff in
We
here.
have a love-hate relationship.
You have a love-hate relationship.
Yeah. He's nice. Sometimes he's mean.
You're going to love this.
Okay.
All right. He sent us a 4-pack
Okay.
of
Okay.
our favorite stout.
Oh, Do you like stout beer?
I haven't really had a whole ton of stouts. I'm more of an IPA guy.
I am not a big stout guy, but this one has been my favorite that I've tried. This is Black Ops, and they used Four Roses barrels.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
He also sent us a bottle of his homebrewed.
Oh, I'm not drinking that.
Bourbon barrel stout. It's Chad approved.
I don't care. I don't trust him that much. It has to be factory sealed before I trust something from Jared.
It's factory sealed.
No, he sealed that. So
you really don't want to drink this.
Not right now, no. I got to test it or something. Do you know how to test if something has poison in it?
We can do that after the episode. Okay. I don't want to reveal my tricks.
All right.
He also sent us a sample.
Uh-huh. Is it a blind sample?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And then a buttload of snacks.
Okay. I'll eat the snacks.
He redeemed himself, right?
He redeemed himself. Yeah. I still don't trust him on the bottle that's not marked. But, if he sends snacks that are labeled appropriately, even though it looked like it was Halloween candy from 2 years ago, it'll be okay.
I mean, if you don't want to drink this stout, I absolutely will.
I mean, I got to think about it. I got to figure out what the rest of my life looks like.
Can you think about it a little bit quicker?
Why? We're going to drink it right now?
Not right now, but...
I'll think about it.
Okay.
What else is in there?
That's it.
What kind of snacks are those?
It's mostly candy.
Leftover candy. I bet his kids didn't eat.
He stole it from their Halloween basket. There's some Dots pretzels.
Okay.
There's some classic Lays.
So random.
There's some Witch's Brew.
I knew I saw some Halloween candy in there. That jerk. He's just old Halloween candy.
Some Hershey's Fangs.
See? He went into his cabinet and found all the stuff that his kids haven't ate since October of last year. A Christmas tree cake?
A Christmas tree cake.
Give me that.
All right.
It's uncrushed, by the way. I'm very surprised.
Oh, no, yeah. He did a great job of packing.
It's been a while, though, when the package gets all like
milky.
That. Yeah.
Yeah, a little hazy. Yeah.
That's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate the Black Ops. This is factory sealed by Brooklyn Brewery. I'm good with that. You got to let me think about my life before I try the next one.
Cheez-It sandwich crackers.
Okay. So random, man.
I don't
Logan,
fully
if you want any of
understand the snacks.
right now, you can have some.
Thank you. I should
There's
be
snacks
good,
everywhere.
Logan's
like,
Logan also values his life.
Yeah, I'll have to check it for razor blades later.
Exactly. That's
it's Halloween candy. That's what they always say,
and
right?
heroin.
That's the ones. Whatever. That's the exact ones. He found them. He put them back, and he sent them to me.
Yep.
He knew Perry wasn't going to. He's just trying to kill me.
I just love that there's a random bag of Lay's originals.
That is pretty crazy.
Yeah. That's very crazy.
Dude, I mean, I'm. If you're not going to drink this, I'm going to drink this entire bottle.
I got to think about it.
Okay. Well,
I got to think about it. I don't know what he does in his home. I mean, I'm a trustworthy person. I mean, Logan has literally been in my house for 3 days. Nothing that bad has happened. You don't know Jared.
I promise nothing bad has happened.
Yeah. You don't know Jared.
It sounded like you said that under duress, but all right.
Yeah. But no, you're right. I don't know Jared. Yeah. So don't know what to expect.
Yeah. I'm just trust me on this one. Okay.
Folks, we are going to move into talking more specifically about because we've definitely dicked around enough during this episode. The Bond, which is Logan's primary whiskey brand, bourbon brand. I want to first of all ask you about Eric and I know kind of surface level information about how the brand started, but I want to give you the chance to let our listeners, our viewers know about how you and your buddies started this brand.
Yeah, so I actually met Ben and William, my two co-founders in this, my first week at UK. they offered to help me in accounting class, but I was a STEM major. So they're like, you're ag biotech. There's nothing we can really help you do. We'll just stay friends with you. And I was like, okay, that works. And so along the way, we actually had a roommate of ours and then another good friend of ours pass away while we were in college. And so afterwards, we were all sitting around having a drink one night saying, what would we do to have another drink with them? And so for us, whenever we want to celebrate a moment or celebrate something special, we turn to bourbon, having a glass of bourbon with friends, having a glass of bourbon with family. And so we wanted to make something that people could celebrate with and could remember those people that they still have or the ones they may have lost. So.
It's the Bond.
Short, sweet, and to the point, man. Yeah. I love it.
And it's bottled in Bond, so I guess.
I mean, there you go. Y'all thought about every aspect of this.
Yeah, every entendre possible.
Yes.
So the first time that I had any kind of experience or exposure to, rather, the Bond, beyond the Thornbush billboard, I'm now realizing was actually another billboard in Lexington. Advertising the Bond. And it was talking about your all's accolades with some of the spirits competitions that you all had been in. And I think that something that people don't realize is that there's not a lot of like merit that is given to brands anymore that is kind of like outside of word of mouth anymore.
Correct. Yeah.
And we've had other brands on the show where, the thing that they rely on is talking about their awards. And I get that, but you all have more of a story. To it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I think that, there should be more to whiskey, more to bourbon, especially as we move into, like trying to sell people again on why bourbon is important. Right. So like beyond, the spirit that's in there, why is the bond of bourbon important to the person that you're sitting down with? Why is it important to share a glass of whiskey with somebody?
Yeah, so for me it's a lot about being intentional. So I don't know if you all are this way, but I'm very much the type of person who rushes around, is working all the time, trying to get things done.
We are.
And to actually set a moment aside to share a glass of whiskey with somebody and be intentional of you're making a point to be with them and be present in that moment and share that glass of whiskey with them and make conversation. To me, that's where it's so important. And, don't get me wrong, the accolades are fun. It's fun to have trophies and medals and all that stuff. But for me, I would rather have a bourbon or a whiskey that I can be proud to serve my friends and proud to serve my family. And I really think that we've done that.
Well, I without really further ado, I would like to try one of the two Bond bourbons that we have on the table.
Yeah. So this is our 4-year low rye, so our 21% rye. So the unique thing about these barrels is Smooth Ambler was getting a lot distilled at MGP. They had about 50 barrels left over. And then they essentially said, somebody needs to take the rest of these barrels. Who wants them? And so they came to us. They said, we've got these available. Is this something you all be interested in? And I tasted them and immediately said yes. Now, you'll probably find this is going to be a little more grainy than what 4-year-olds usually are. So we can get into like my blending philosophy a little later on. But I tried to bring out the best in a young bourbon. So I try to say like a Buffalo Trace or very traditional bourbon with a little higher proof, a little bit more flavor to it, but also using that graininess to our advantage to bring out that sweetness.
So to me, like 4 years old is not necessarily young these days. Like there are a lot of products that, especially when you consider brands like Wilderness Trail or New Riff, their initial products were 4 years old. And we were championing them on, waiting until they had reached a 4-year mark as like they had and the way that I'm saying this sounds almost negative, but like they had really done something.
Yeah, that they had the patience to wait until it was ready. Yeah.
So I feel like, you know, you're selling yourself a little bit short, at least, with like saying, you know, oh, we had this young whiskey going into our blending here, but you know, you do have bottled and bond on the label. Do you feel though that like that's a restrictive label as far as like what's going into the bottle itself?
Not necessarily. For me, that's very interesting because I can essentially have an entire season's worth of barrels to work with. You know, they don't have to be made in the same batch. Most of these barrels, I do 4-barrel blends, are sister barrels. So they were aged in brick warehouses at MGP. We're open and honest about that. In fact, kind of proud of it that we were able to get some good product from there. And then yeah, it's for me being able to say like, okay, I have an entire season's worth of bourbon to work with. You know, this month may not be great, but you know, if September was a really great month for 21 rye, then we've hit the nail on the head. Let's botch, you know, September 21 rye barrels. So in a way it is a little restrictive, especially me being a high proof fan. 100 proof is a little lower than I'd like, but you have to make compromises, right?
I like this.
I don't have any problem with it.
I know sometimes when the content, the reviewer, the influencer, they say grainy, you say grainy, like you take it as like a negative.
Yeah.
I don't get that same grainy. I will say I get more of like almost like an oatmeal grain. Like if you think about everything that goes into an oatmeal, like an oatmeal cookie, like that's kind of the grain I get. Like this reminds me of an oatmeal cookie, and we have tried so many random things, 4 years old, 10 years old, all that stuff. And like, this is a very like, you can slide this in your rotation of your favorite, like Heaven Hill, bottled and bonds and stuff like that. There's nothing like young, grainy, negative on there. It does have a grainy, but it's not a bad grainy.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense. It tastes like an oatmeal cookie to me.
Yeah. Thank you.
There are unrefined grainy products. Right?
Absolutely.
There is something about this that feels intentional, right? You know, and I think that that's the key difference that, you know, when we were talking on the pregame chats about, and I will, you know, I did a live stream about it. I'm not going to, you know, make any, there are no qualms about it, I guess. But we were specifically talking about the Bullet bottled and bond that just came out, the 7-year-old. At least in my purview, there was a quality about this product that felt very unrefined, that there was less intentionality behind it, and it didn't really hit the mark as far as like, what are they working with? What are the barrels that we're going into this blend? You know, how are all of these parts equaling a whole? The you know, the Gestalt theory of it all. And to me, you know, even though it is a 4-year-old bottled and bond bourbon, you know, for years in Kentucky, we had a 6-year-old bottled and bond bourbon from Heaven Hill that was $13, and we didn't bat an eye at it. You know, we just, that was like our gold standard. And now we have, you know, 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old bourbons that we, you know, we are so much more discretionary about. And I don't know. I think that like the goalpost is being moved so constantly.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You know, I think that we're not allowing ourselves to like step back and go, what actually is happening with some of the, you know, the craft distillers,
Yeah.
you know? So I want to ask you too, like, where do you feel like the importance of craft distillers is going to be in the next few years?
Yeah, I think the big thing for me,
craft producers too, not
the big thing for me is just there's always going to be a market for what I call the blue blood distilleries. You know, those heritage distilleries that have been around and will continue to be around for years to come. But there need to be people that are making something different. There need to be those people making niche products to continue moving the industry forward, or else we regress. We continue to kind of go back to our roots and get comfortable with where we're at and stay kind of stagnant. You know, you said that we keep on moving the fence post back or the goalpost back and back and back. I think of the Scotch industry a lot. You know, they had the whiskey lock in the 80s, and, you know, their 12-year age statements, and that being, you know, super premium, has now become 40 and 80. You know, I don't expect bourbon to get to that point, but like Russell's 10, I think that has a standard, and it's like for us to be so lucky to have a 10-year-old bourbon as a standard, it's awesome, but it also raises the bar a little bit. You know, it's intimidating for people like me putting out a 4-year-old product and people saying, well, it's only 4 years old. But I would challenge that and say, to be honest with you, the best barrels in our inventory right now are 2 years old and are being blended into this.
Interesting.
So they're 45% wheat, and it is as sweet as candy. Just like caramel sweetness, super, super phenomenal. Char 3 barrels from MGP. And, you know, people act like MGP is a dirty word, but it's like, they're successful for a reason. Baby. They're successful for a reason. Yep.
So what at the end of it is keeping you from holding those barrels back and using them for actual like products that you would, you know, put out as the Bond, or maybe a, you know, another bourbon label that's not flavored whiskey in the future?
So for us, it's waiting on other barrels to kind of get of age. Unfortunately, that's kind of the issue we're working with at hand now. You know,
even if you feel like, you know, what's going into Thornbush is your honey barrel.
So we're sitting on a lot of those. So as many people probably say,
I love that. I love that.
I told our owner, like, he's a huge Maker's Mark fan, and so I gave him a sample of it, and he goes, "This is amazing." And I said,
wheat, doesn't he?
I said, we have to keep these. Like, let's pull these back. Let's start figuring out which barrels we can switch it to. And so, actually, probably here soon, we're going to switch it to North Carolina bourbon. You know, we've got some wheated barrels from down there. The new Riff mash bill, but wheated, and transitioning it to that. And so, for me, I would love to see a wheated version of the Bond, or a rye version of the Bond. So,
beyond that too, I mean, just, you know, changing up the mash bill. I think that a lot of people, of course, are interested. We were talking behind the paywall about finishing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is that something that you all have experimented with in any capacity too, like finished barrels or anything with your bourbons?
So that's really a dream of mine. I'm you know, you mentioned
it's expensive.
The mad scientist. It is very expensive. My coworkers literally called me the mad scientist. I will bring them cups of bourbon to their office and be like, "You've got to try this. Like, tell me what you think."
I want to work there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Nobody can bring me cups of bourbon at work.
Yeah. I was gonna say the workplace sounds awful, doesn't it? Yeah. But yeah, so I kind of take the freedom to experiment with things, and that's what I love the most about the bourbon industry. Is I say kind of an academic at heart. Like I said, I was doing ag and medical biotech, found out I wasn't supposed to be in a lab, and that I was supposed to be around people a little more often. And so for me, bourbon is really bridging that gap. And so I grew up on a farm, and bourbon and then farming and agriculture really kind of share artisan roots, where it's like there's only so much you can control, but the rest of it is up to you. You know, what you taste, how much you train your palate, you know, how you handle your crops, all that type of thing. So for me, it's just being able to go in and do these experiments. You know, I've done a orange dreamsicle is what I'm working on now with like a vanilla brandy barrel, orange curacao. I've got that finishing up. I'll send you all a sample to the P.O. box whenever that gets done.
You just tell me where you're at.
We'll give you the home address.
Yeah. I was going to say, I was telling you
where I live.
Yeah, exactly.
You just show up.
Well, I can't get out and get it yet.
That's true.
I've been down here for a little while.
I guess that's a way to let you out.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll have to get a permission slip.
You've been freed. I really don't like this meta that we've developed. That he's anyway. It's okay.
It's just my storyline, right?
Anyway, yeah.
I can't have a friend I keep in the basement.
We had Fred Minnick down here at one point. That that was also that meta.
Still mad at him.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we don't have to.
Okay.
But
Derek.
Back to the question, I will say, I think that barrel finishing is going to be the next frontier of a lot of the bourbon industry. I've experimented with 100-day-old whiskeys. They're bourbon mash bills, putting them in honey barrels and Madeira barrels, and it takes out all the ethanol on the nose.
Interesting.
You get that overly kind of sweet taste from the honey. Some may call it too sweet, but the Madeira really rounds it out, kind of gives it a little bit of that oaky flavor, a little bit of that kind of fruit note that you're looking for in a bourbon without really having to let it age beyond 8 months old, which is, to me, is crazy. So
my brain is not wired for the scientific side of all of that. I'm like, how's this going to work if I throw it together this way? Or, you know what I mean? We were also talking about the people who are passionate about creating good whiskey, but also, have the technical know-how to make it happen. And I just love talking with people who are able to find, where the Venn diagram is basically a circle. At that point, too, and it makes me excited to see that, the Bond seems to be like the future there.
Thank you.
So of course, So talk about this next bourbon as well.
Yeah. So this is what we call the Bond Eternal. So this was originally supposed to be a special release. These are 7-year-old MGP 36% rye barrels. Aged part of the time in Montana, the rest of the time in Kentucky, in a Camp Nelson F style warehouse. But yeah, I mean, like I said, we started it off as a special release, and then I liked it too much. We made it permanent. So
you're the boss.
Yeah, I was gonna say, great problem to have, I will say. But this is definitely my favorite out of the bunch. As we talked about behind the paywall, I'm a big Wild Turkey fan, and have a little bit this episode. We've talked about it as well. So I kind of tried to carry through those funky tobacco notes that Russell's has, along with kind of that sweet oak note that you get from those Camp Nelson warehouses.
Okay,
all right.
Yeah, I know I'm getting nerdy here, but
nope, don't worry about it.
Talking.
Keep getting nerdy.
Yeah, your work is doing the heavy lifting right now, because this smells delicious.
Yeah, and so as I said, a little bit behind the blending philosophy, I do 4-barrel batches. I have one specific flavor that I look for in each barrel, and then once I have that, I actually move it to a different part of the warehouse to accentuate that.
That's awesome.
I try to think 4 or 5 batches ahead of time. And say okay, I need so many that are going to taste like chocolate.
Right.
So I'll move 4 or 5 barrels to the middle of the warehouse, kind of like a Booker's cut, kind of where those barrels are placed. Or it's I need a little more oak in it. Let me put them at the top of the warehouse. And so for me, that's kind of how I achieve my consistency, but also that little bit of variation.
This smells really good, man. When you're getting a product ready, is it kind of a 50-50 thing where you're I want this to smell good and taste good? Or do you prefer, sometimes I just like smelling. You get one of those products, you're I don't even need to drink it right now because I'll smell it forever. Are you, maybe this one you were I wanted the smell to hit you a little bit more. Maybe that one you want them to taste it on the finish. And do you think about that thing, or you just want an overall product?
Yeah, so it kind of depends on the product. So the big thing for me with Thornbush, the blackberry whiskey, the smell is what entices people.
Right.
I mean, you could open the bottle, and I'm sure you all could attest to this. As soon as we open it, you can smell blackberry in the room.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Whereas for these, for me, it's more so about the entire experience. Okay. And that's where I get kind of those 4 flavors from. It allows me to kind of layer those flavors. So it's not just everything all at once and then it's done. This one kind of lingers with you a little bit. It unveils itself a little bit layer after layer.
This is really good.
Thank you.
It's a patient pour. You're right. It doesn't immediately just, hit you with everything that it's presenting. Mm-hmm. It takes its time. Excuse me.
That's cakey
incredible.
pastry.
Yeah.
I love snack cakes. It's a very vanilla cupcake type like thing like going on, and like and like I said, this is a smeller to me.
Yeah,
like it tastes phenomenal, but like it's one that I smelled this for a while before I even tasted it. That's why I kind of asked the question. It's very like bakery pastry. Like you walk into that and you all that sugar, all that frosting hits you, and like, yeah, this is delicious, man.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah. I try to throw a little bit of fruit in there too. So the big thing on this batch is I got a little bit of orange out of it.
Okay.
So this was our first batch. We're on number 4 now. I guess I'm not really getting that much out of this one anymore.
This is from the first batch?
Yeah. So this is bottle number 79, actually.
Holy moly, dude.
Yeah. And I was going to say that we're on batch number 2 for the 4 year is what we have here. So
that's good. I like that a lot.
Yep. So this was batch 1 for this was the first bourbon I ever blended. And then an hour later, I blended this and picked all the barrels out for it. So it's kind of all in the same day.
So it's always fun and, it's interesting for me to ask people who are, not necessarily like blending at a high volume.
Yeah.
To, ask people like you the question of what have you learned through the process of blending at, maybe I think micro might be, not the right way to describe it, but it may be a little bit more appropriate. So like, if you've, what have you learned from your blending experience?
Yeah, so I usually kind of refer to it as like small scale blends.
Yeah.
So like anything 10 barrels under, I would say is kind of a small scale. The one thing that I've learned, and I've had a lot of great teachers. I've been to classes put on by Nancy Fraley, and she's taught me a lot of kind of the old world brandy principles, and I'm trying to kind of carry those through to these products. And then also some of the staff there at Whiskey Thief as well. And then of course the Beam Institute. I mean, as bad as it sounds, I'll credit most of my palate to the wine appreciation class that I took my senior year. We went in there, we would have 6 glasses of wine set in front of us, and he would say, "You're going to tell me what you taste. Nothing is wrong, but you have to say it out loud to the class." And so he would go around the room of 40 or 50 people, and then you would discuss it afterwards. And he would say like, "Okay, well, you said you tasted this or you tasted pear. Now explain how you got that." And so for me, it's more so being able to kind of pick out those flavors is what I gained from that. But for me, like what I'm learning from it is that larger blends are actually a little easier to do. So whenever you get up into like the 30, 100 barrel range, it gets quite easier. Just because the flavors all kind of mesh together. Whereas with like a 4 barrel blend like we do, you have to be a little more picky because one kind of tainted barrel or one that's slightly off throws off the entire blend.
Yeah.
And so before I even put a barrel into our blend, I proof it down to probably 40 proof. Just pour a bunch of water in it.
The 4 Roses method.
Yeah, essentially, because it allows me to kind of see like, okay, when I proof this down, is there going to be anything that sticks out?
Yeah.
Is there going to be anything that's going to throw off the blend?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of the one thing I've learned is just that, and that you have to be very picky with your barrels. I mean, I think for this first batch, when I was blending these, I turned away 80% of the barrels that I tried.
Wow.
Which sounds stupid. I know.
On my part. Where'd they go?
Batch 2. They just need a little bit more time aging.
Okay. I was like, do you have them just sitting around? Like, you want to just leave them?
Yeah. I've got them in my backyard, maybe in a barn somewhere.
They went to Gene Nassif.
All I got from that was my college sucked compared to yours.
Dude, if I had been able to go to class and just taste wine all day, I mean, I think, Eric, what you and I should do is we should go back to school and make content out of it.
Let's go back.
It's an extremely goofy movie, but
this Beam Academy.
So there's actually a certificate program.
Really?
It's like 3-4 classes. Yeah,
I'm kind of
phenomenal.
Considering it. Like
put in a good
honestly,
word for us, you gotta like have a recommendation.
Yeah, I can write you a letter of recommendation.
Hell yeah.
Yo, okay, all right.
I can't promise any scholarships, but I can.
I just want to have a good time.
Yeah.
My brother
that's
is
guaranteed.
my brother's a professor at UK.
Okay.
So, yeah.
You may get the family discount.
Maybe we'll see.
I'm trying to, I'm just trying to have fun. I'm going to try to go back to school to have fun. I mean,
You want to join a frat?
Yeah,
Finally,
the beam, Alpha Omega or whatever it's called. B Alpha
BAO.
Yeah, sure.
I was gonna say, is there a Greek letter that starts with J?
I don't think there is. I think J was one of the few letters that was not in the Greek alphabet.
I was gonna say like something beta for the James B. Beam, but yeah,
we could go gamma beta.
Yeah,
GBB.
Yeah.
That I don't know, something about that. Anyway, I do want to talk more about the Beam Institute because it's definitely something that we have not taken the time to not only explore but really like just on a surface level like talk about on the podcast, and like to have somebody who has gone through the whole program is very cool. So I want to, it's something that it has changed immensely since you have been there too. I mean, like
Absolutely.
there's a Rick House now just on UK's campus,
which is awesome to see. Yeah.
Is very, very cool. Yeah. But at the very least, like introducing bourbon, not just as like a cultural institution, but also like as like a scholarly one.
Yeah.
Too. Like I want to kind of get your insight on like how did that impact your approach to developing a brand and developing a product as well.
Yeah. So it kind of requires a little bit more background. So I apologize. I'm prefacing everything.
Take all the time you need.
But
Take all the time you need.
But so was ag biotech at UK. Wasn't a huge fan of being in labs and biochem and molecular genetics and all that stuff. So for me, I always knew I wanted to do science, something to do with ag, something to do with business. And you look at UK, they've got mining engineering. They've got a lot of these programs that are specific to Kentucky and providing workers for businesses here in the state. But there was never a program committed to bourbon.
Of course.
So I was kind of one of the first classes to go through the Beam Institute. By the time I graduated, they were about finished with the distillery. So I never got to see the big Vendome column on campus or walk past the Rick House or anything like that. But it's providing a much larger opportunity, not only from a STEM background, to get a lot more qualified distillers, not only for the bourbon industry, but for the Scotch industry, even industries like beer and wine. I mean, it's the James B. Beam Institute, but their curriculum covers beer, wine, brandy, bourbon, you name it.
Right.
They have it. And so for me, it's just kind of that next generation of students and getting them ready. And so it's a program unlike any other. I had to do a research project to graduate, and I had a class that was spirits chemistry. I think it was spirits chemistry, but went up to the professor afterwards and said, I know you have a lab. Is there any way that I could do a research project with you? And he said, well, you sit in the front row of my class and you laugh at my jokes. Sure, why not? That was Dr. Seth the Bolt.
Great. We got the teacher's pet.
Yeah. I'll have the dunce cap on later.
I'm messing with you, man.
But so, yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good. So Seth's actually the head of the
I was also a teacher's pet, so.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with it.
I wasn't. Sorry.
Oh, you said... Okay.
I wasn't.
I thought you were taking a dig at me. That's anyway.
No. Do you ever get to go back and they're like, we're going to have a special speaker today. You're going to speak in front of the class?
So actually, in a couple of weeks, they're having the industry conference.
Nice.
So it's a continuing education event. Four Roses, Jim Beam, all the big kind of blue blood brands send their workers there kind of for continuing education. And
really want us to be there for that.
Well, so I have a speaking engagement there. So I'll be talking a little bit about the necessity of diverse mash bills in the industry.
Interesting.
Just because there's a lot of 21 rye, and that's not to hit the panic button and get all the hedge funds to sell, but it's like even from my time in the industry, I've seen that consumer taste change. I mean, my first year, it was this 21 rye. Mm-hmm. Second year, it was 36 rye. Mm-hmm. Now I'm seeing that 45% wheat is trending. So it's like, how can we better prepare ourselves for the future and basically try to mitigate those losses? Because I think of a stock portfolio. You're not going to put everything into Walmart or everything into Google or Tesla. You want to diversify it out. You want your retirement to kind of hedge your bets, so to speak. So,
talking way over my head.
I was following. That's okay.
That's fine. I know you are. I'm just enjoying this whiskey.
I'm kind of interested in like having the podcast there as media, just to report on it, I guess, or like hear what the the talk is about at the very least, just because I'm curious what the industry at large is conversing a bit about this topic, because I think that one of the things that we are concerned about is staleness, with not just the same mash bill, but the same process of, we're putting it in the same barrel, or we got the same finishing process or whatever. And, there's really no like seemingly stone that has been unturned. But for me, there are, brands like 15 Stars, which has done something like the triple cask finish, which, a few weeks ago, we were talking about how even though there seems to be like the bursting of the bubble, I'm not entirely ready for that to happen.
Absolutely.
Because I want to see the continuation of innovation, right? Like if you've got a brand who is taking 3 different finishing barrels and blending them together, whatever the, different ratios are, and putting them together into a product that they feel like is the best representation of those finishes. I feel like there is still innovation that is left to come out from the bourbon world.
Absolutely. And that's one thing I will say is, you asked in the prior question what the Beam Institute is doing, and they're really helping explore those avenues of being, what does the future look like for us? How can we continue to progress this industry without having to regress? There may be times that are tumultuous. One of the big things that they've done is the Estate Whiskey Alliance. So Furry Ranch just joined that this past week. It's distilleries that get all their grains within 50 miles, age everything on site, and then distill it there on site. And so I've always told my coworkers, I feel like Kentucky's the next Napa Valley. Except the only limiting factor about Napa Valley is that they have a limited amount of grapes, and we can get corn from anywhere.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, it's tough because, you're going to want to drive that innovation, and I hate to say it, but tough times are probably going to continue to drive that. How can you make yourself successful and, when the bubble bursts, so to speak, or when things are a little more difficult than what you may be used to.
Yeah. I think we're about to hit tough times. But I think it's interesting at the very least that the notion of this is a very like undeveloped take that I'm about to put out, but I do really like the refinement of education being essential to the future of bourbon as an industry. And it's not that I like want to, rely on, the dollar or the corporation-ness of it. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It's just like, I don't want to see bourbon die in the way that it exists right now, because I think that there is so much life and there's so much vigor to it. But I think that, in the way that you are bringing the Bond to the table, it's a result of somebody who has gone through, a program that has shown that you don't have to have, and this is not to discredit somebody like Jimmy Russell, who
one of my heroes.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Who has had 70 years in the industry and has produced some of, inarguably the best bourbon on the market. Excuse me. What I'm saying is that there are, there's no one way to square the circle.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that as we continue to innovate and redefine what it means to make bourbon, make whiskey, there's just room for people to go to school and learn about it. And instead of like a general chemistry degree, and then they go to, a distillery and they're like, yeah, I know how to work these machines.
Or like I think of Harlan Wheatley, and he's like, went to school to be a chemical engineer and then ended up as a master distiller.
Exactly what I mean. Yeah. Exactly what I mean.
And that's, to me, the very unique part about where we're coming to as an industry, is we're to a point where we can kind of continue to bring out that artisan nature of the industry. We can allow people who are truly passionate about it to specifically pursue this and learn everything way ahead of time. I just think about if somebody like, Harlan Wheatley or a Jimmy Russell or a Steve Nally had the opportunity to go to the Beam Institute whenever they were younger, where they would be at today.
It's almost like in the Bear, when they're about to open the restaurant and Sydney's like going around and like checking out all the other restaurants and, taking notes and everything. It's like, it's not an offense to like, the restaurant that came before, even though, other people feel that way. It's just like, you're trying to improve upon what's come before it in order to make the best possible product of, and I think that, in some capacity there is like a resistance to innovation.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, like, a lot of people just want good whiskey. They just want good bourbon.
Yeah.
And we look at somebody like Bardstown Bourbon Company, who is making some of the best new bourbon on the market. But they're also innovating in a way that, nobody is really arguing with.
Absolutely. And it's, we're providing that foundation for the next generation to have as a launch point.
Yeah.
I think of, before us came distilleries like Hiram Walker and Seagram's, who published thousands of open source research articles all about bourbon, all about yeast. They even donated their entire yeast bank whenever they closed to like a national registry.
It's crazy.
And so at the end of the day, they were as committed to securing that foundation for the next generation. And I think that's really what the Beam Institute and other educational institutions are trying to do, is it's like, this is what we know. Now use this to your advantage.
Yeah.
Go out and have a good time and do what you need to do.
And like that legacy too being continued by people like Dr. Pat. Yeah. Too at Wilderness Trail. It's
another one of my heroes.
Yeah. I mean, like, let us like just give you that opportunity to, we're going to help you. Yeah. You're going to have to like, work with us as far as like, it's not, we're not going to gift you everything, but it's still, the resources are there in a way that they weren't even 10 years ago.
Absolutely.
It's still amazing to me that innovation has happened so rapidly.
Yeah. I mean, the one of the stories of why I got into distilling was a tour with my parents at Buffalo Trace when I was 13.
Dang.
It's back in the days. Yeah, my dad wanted to go. It's fall
11
break.
years ago, folks.
Yeah.
I was just drinking Buffalo Trace.
Yeah. Well, it was back in the days when you didn't have to have a reservation 3 months ahead of time.
Yeah, exactly.
I took my kids
Yeah.
to Easter.
When it
I
wasn't
took
all
my
bought up
kids
by
to
bots.
the
Yeah.
Easter egg hunts at Buffalo Trace. Like,
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, man.
That's a great
crazy.
memory. Yeah.
It's crazy. It's crazy. I want to know, is there like a local like distiller blender like group chat? Like, are you like, is Harlan like in there sending like memes?
I've always wondered this too.
Is
Like
there,
if
like,
there,
something-
if you all kind of are connected in a way that we
you don't have to go
we
into the
don't know
details,
about.
but you can just give us like
A yes or no
could you
answer.
text like Harlan Wheatley right now.
No, I
Okay,
couldn't.
okay.
Unfortunately,
But other like craft distillers.
yeah.
Okay.
For,
all right.
for the-
That's all.
Yeah,
That's all we need to know.
I'll say this for the craft community, that's a lot more accessible.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Jimmy's not on a like group meet or anything.
No.
Okay.
No, Jimmy's not on
WhatsApp.
Yeah, Jimmy's not on Slack. He's
Okay.
he's not pinging us all.
Well, that was my question of the time. So, you imagine sending Jimmy like a meme or a GIF like, oh, look, I just put out this barrel and it sucked. And you're like, ah.
He responds with like Tom Holland on Lip Sync Battle as Rihanna for whatever
Yeah.
reason. And you're like,
Yeah.
what is?
It's like, I'm so mad at you. You did the thing that I told you not to do. Anyway, but dude, it's been awesome. Like,
Yeah.
this stuff is so good.
Thank
And
you.
I'm scared of this thing over here that you've left us.
Well, we're about to try that just for Patreon because
Okay.
I've got a little idea cooked up
Okay.
here.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
folks on the free portion, hop on over to Patreon.
Oh.
But we'll circle back for the rest of our free stuff here in just a moment. All right, folks, we got barrel rings this week.
Tell Logan what barrel rings is.
Well, barrel rings is our segment of the show where people can call or text into the show.
Okay.
And we will listen to it or read it out depending on how it is submitted. And if you want to do that, the number is 859-428-8253. 859-428-8253. Send us a voicemail or a text message. And I apologize to the person who submitted two in a row because I did not have time last week to get to barrel rings with Chad because he was under a time crunch. So we've got two from the same person this week, and it's Bill.
Bill Robar.
Good morning, gentlemen. It's your friendly neighborhood Bill. Wasn't sure if I was going to get banned for calling Eric a whiner, but whatever. We're here. I haven't even heard the latest episode yet. Don't think it's out by the time I sent this, but just want to say what's up. My predictions were correct for the most part. Philadelphia won. I think that's vindication for the Bills to,
Thank you.
realize that a good team can beat Kansas City. So, anywho, sorry.
What the hell was that?
Eric nowadays, I don't know what's gotten into me, but he can handle it. He's a big boy. He's got tough skin. He's not gonna go crying his Wheaties after this, I don't think. So, but just want to chime on in, see how things are going. Been a little slow on the alcohol consumption, so haven't really tried anything new. I did try Penelope's new ready-to-drink peach old-fashioned, which is fantastic. If you see it, I was just getting it, 80 proof, peach bitters, a little maple syrup, some rye, some bourbon. You know they're going to do a good job with that. Just want to throw this out here. I'm going to be fasting this weekend. I think I'm going to do a 60-hour fast.
Damn.
Reset the body, reset my gut, and all that other stuff. Do you guys fast? I don't know. I know Don Nishida fasts, but don't know about anyone else. So, but I feel like it's a good tool to have in your pocket if you want a little bit of a reset. So there it is. All right, boys. Hope to talk to y'all soon. Peace out.
I don't do big fast like Bill. I fast
Intermittent fasting.
intermittent.
or whatever.
I don't really eat anything until noon or after. And then I try to stop at like 7:30.
Yeah.
Unless there's something special going on. Like,
I'm the same way.
yeah, I'll do coffee in the morning, stuff like that, and water, but I don't really eat anything till I'm like a 12:30 to like 7:30 window is what I do.
Yep. I was going to say, I'm kind of the same way. Yep. I've lost like 50 pounds since college.
50?
Yeah. Yeah.
Damn.
Legit. And so
I've lost 50 pounds in the last year, so.
Well, congrats, man.
Thank you.
Yeah. But so, yeah, I mean, it's like I'm not much of a faster. A friend of mine in college did tell me about a diet. He called it the liquid diet. It was Kentucky Gentleman for breakfast,
Damn.
Kentucky Gentleman for lunch, and then because he needed his sugar and his calories, a ski and Kentucky Gentleman for dinner. So
We've got there's some Kentucky Gentleman around here somewhere. Is it down?
Hey,
It's not down here.
Okay, well, we won't get into that.
Yeah,
but
we're not going to.
maybe I'll start trying that. If I get in trouble at work, I will blame you for the advice.
Yeah.
So
you can, yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry, Logan.
I was just going to say you can tell him to call me.
Okay. I'll be sure to let them know.
In all my little authority, yeah.
You're going to be like, I don't care. He took the advice and he's an idiot. So
Eric, I have not seen you since the Super Bowl,
yeah.
which you initially told me that you were not going to watch or be awake for. And you decided that you were going to be awake for, but not watch and instead enjoy anime.
I did. Yeah. So what? I watched anime during the Super Bowl, and I kept up with the highlights and all that stuff.
You told me you were going to sleep.
Well, I couldn't go to sleep that early, so I watched anime. I watched Gundam.
Okay, that's acceptable.
Yes. See, I kept up, and I would look at the score and check in on things.
You told me you were going to sleep.
I didn't go to sleep. You know I wasn't going to go to sleep. You think I ever go to sleep at 6 o'clock on a Sunday? I watched
What's going on, boys? It's Bill. Market, 3 weeks in a row. I don't think you banned me yet.
No,
So
Bill,
we're good. And keep on chugging with this until you do. Shadow ban, or whatever you want to call it. So I got a question for you boys. I'm curious because I don't think I've heard this in the past, maybe a little, but definitely not recently. Maybe I'm wrong. You can correct me if I am. But how come we ain't talking about other brands? Like, we all know I'm a fan of Pinhook and Penelope. Been drinking on some of that Bib and Tucker Double Char. I'm sure there are other brands out there that's not getting enough love and appreciation, whether it be price point, proof, or whatever, but probably have really good flavor, great applications, and really is just something you can sit down with, drink, and not have to really think about it too much. Right? So, how about an episode on that as an idea? You
That's
don't have to do
perfect
it,
timing.
obviously. It's not my bourbon podcast. It's your bourbon podcast. But just kind of thinking, that might be a cool way to do it. I mean, I get it. Every bottle of Rare Character is a different bourbon, but we ain't getting that. We ain't finding that. So, all right, boys, just a little food for thought. Speaking of food, I'm hungry. I'm hungry. Eric, what you got on my spicy chicken sandwich, bro? All right. Peace out.
Well, Bill, when you listen to this or watch this, you'll see. We talk about the Bond.
Here's my thing on Bib and Tucker. I have never had a good enough experience with them to warrant talking about them on the podcast. I don't want to slander anybody in a way that would make for content that I don't know. I just
Well, I mean, we did Found North the other day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That was there. We got the Bond. We got Logan here doing all that. Like, I don't know, Bill. Like,
we've got old episodes with Pinhook and Penelope too, don't we?
yeah, we've reviewed those.
I was gonna say, did you all have anybody here from Penelope, or
we haven't had anybody on from Penelope, but we definitely can.
I was gonna say, so my friend Wendy is actually the global brand ambassador.
Let's have Wendy on.
So phenomenal person, super intelligent.
Well, we talked in person with what is it, Mike from Penelope?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he's all the time, but Bill, chill, bro.
It's one of my favorite things in the world when anybody goes, "Why aren't you doing content this way?" And I'm like, I know.
No.
Yeah, it's because they take charity cases like me.
No.
Shut up, dude.
I'm just messing with y'all.
We're happy to have you on.
No.
Well,
Thank you for having me. Yeah, I'll nerd out
we
anytime.
love Bill. I get what he's saying, but we did the Found North stuff. We got a whole episode on this. Like, this is exactly what he just mentioned. This is your, like, not your, what you
It's
say,
not
Blue
Buffalo
Blood?
Trace. It's not Evan
it's
Hill.
not Blue Blood. It's not a heritage
But
distillery.
this bottle right here, I would put this up against it. And I want to point out, I will say, I didn't have a chance to look at this label.
Mm-hmm.
And I just happened, like, while you were talking, I was looking at, this is metal.
I love this.
We got a hand and
So
a
it's kind of
skeleton hand
Oh,
and a lock. The Bond
it's
with
in tribute
chains.
to your friend. Yeah.
Yep. And so lock and chains, because bonded warehouses used to be under lock and key.
This,
So yeah, a little bit of everything.
I love
this
it.
is a label of the year right now, and it's metal as hell. And
Label of the year.
Fucking
We're in
right
February,
I don't
and
care.
it's
You're
been
gonna
out
have
for
to do
a couple
something-
years.
Somebody's
now.
going to have to do something crazy to beat this. This is literally a death metal style, and I love it. And the fact that, like you said, it's to your friend, it's like all that. I love this label right here. Like, I don't know if the camera will focus, but I mean, skull hand. Oh, he knows how to do it. There it is.
Yeah,
Got it.
I watch Twitch and YouTube.
Oh.
I've been around the block a couple times.
It's awesome. It's awesome.
I was gonna say I've seen the segment before. I
Look at that.
appreciate Bill calling in. Yeah.
There we go. Yeah, we're always trying to do more than just, your Heaven Hills, your Buffalo Traces, your whatever. I mean, so much so that we are saving, and I forgot the Larceny A125 this week, but we are saving all of the Larceny and Elijah Craig barrel proof releases that come out this year until the end of the year to review them all together, because it gets tiresome to do them basically 3 times a year or 6 times a year, depending on how we break it up. It's a lot, and there are so many brands that we would rather talk about and give props to, highlight, including the Bond. I mean, we've literally never talked about you all on the podcast, and here we are devoting an entire episode and having one of the founders on. That's something that we're way more interested in at this point in the show than just constantly hyping up heritage brands over and over and over again. It's a very different landscape these days than what it was in a few years ago. Anyway, but we do appreciate the feedback. I'm not trying to say don't.
Bill knows what he's doing.
Yeah, he does. He
knows what he's doing.
Anyway, all right. Speaking of feedback, Eric's gonna lay into me during high proof hot takes.
I've had a good time. I don't think I'm going to.
Oh, come on!
What?
You can't.
I love you.
You can't just. I love you too. You can't just say I'm gonna.
The Bourbon Bowl. Okay. Do you know it's bourbon night?
Chad and Sarah,
Yes.
absolutely,
Look, as he pours.
I've never met them.
Hold on.
I was gonna say I'm having.
Just immediately is like, yeah, I know exactly who that is.
Well, I'm the. I guess I'm gonna have to be the mediator, so I'm getting ready.
Can I have a little bit more?
Yeah,
of that?
absolutely.
I would
Would
actually
you
like that
as well?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. But yeah, love Chad and Sarah. I've never met them in person before, but I grew up, watching their channel in college.
I understand.
That's really funny, actually.
and actually kind of like for me, the biggest piece of all this is education, because everything's like been right there with Michael Veach and Chuck Cowdery. So
Do you remember seeing me on It's Bourbon Night?
I do.
Back in the, that's
I do,
really
yeah.
funny. That's hysterical to me. Anyway,
So
But-
there's this thing called the Bourbon Bowl where they it's like their Super Bowl thing. I got to be a judge on that twice, 2 years in a row.
yeah, I had COVID one year.
Yeah, you did, and you tagged me in, and then they brought me back the next year, which was awesome. Special Todd was on there, all that. Well, I got snubbed the not this year, but the year before. Didn't really get like a letter saying like we didn't choose you to help out or anything. Like Perry didn't really like argue that you should be on there and stuff like that. Kind of heartbreaking.
You were sick.
Not last year.
Oh.
Yeah. And this year, Perry, how you doing? Oh, I'm doing better. Like I'm getting over this stuff already, but I'm pretty sure they probably figured out who the judges were going to be way ahead of time.
I did not know that My Daily Bourbon was going to be there this year.
I mean, but what like
I thought it was just going to be me.
did you ask like, hey, Eric should be on there?
No?
Okay. That's it. I mean, I think that's self-explanatory right there. And they also borrowed my bottles to make their Bourbon of the Year list. Use it for B-roll, behind the scenes, the B-roll thing. Chad came over here. I gave him 3 New Riff bottles to try and share. Where are those bottles at?
Are they still over there?
Did they give them to you to bring back?
No. The 8 years?
Yeah.
I'll say this: phenomenal, by the way. I absolutely love the
I
New
love
Riff
it.
8 year. Yeah,
You know, last
I'm sure
time
you're missing it. Yeah,
I'm missing it.
I can't believe that they're still
8 year bourbon, 8 year rye, and old New Riff bourbon. They still have them over there
I was over
at their house.
Really?
I was over there on Sunday,
Yeah.
and they didn't go, hey, you're going to see Eric this week.
Yeah.
Give him his bottles back.
Well, if you need more,
Amazing.
I know where about 90 of them are sitting. Out right
I
now.
need more.
Whoa.
Yeah,
Really?
But
yeah. That's my honey hole. That's
Okay, well,
yeah.
we'll
talk about that off
camera.
air. I want to make sure I get you all set up before everybody else.
high proof hot take. You left your boy in the cold,
I'm sorry.
and
Next.
I'm sad about it.
Next year.
Yeah, and and it's Bourbon Night. If you're watching, listening,
They're not.
well, maybe somebody passed along the message.
We talked about
How
this.
much of my New Riff did you?
So we
use?
talked about this on last week's episode when Chad was on.
Oh, you talking
that-
about me?
No.
Oh, great.
Um,
You didn't even mention.
Actually, we did because I was worried about you. But what I said was the worst kept secret in the content space of bourbon creators is that none of us listen to or watch other content made by bourbon or whiskey creators. Like
you don't want to have spoiler alerts, I think.
yeah,
Like,
we just don't. We don't want to get spoiled by anything. And so like, if we're reviewing something that might have come out in the past couple of weeks, we're like, or like, if we're interviewing somebody, we don't want to ask the same questions, or even if we do, we want to frame it in a different way.
So I'm proposing now that me and Todd Cooper are going to have a bourbon bowl on the same time that It's Bourbon Night has one.
with the two of you.
And we're going to do this, brother. And we're going to go head to head with It's Bourbon Night, and we're going to make at least 10 people watch us instead of them.
Hey, if you need a third, let me know.
Dude.
And we got Logan on our side, baby. We got the youngest master blender ever.
The Doogie House.
And It's Bourbon Night. Me and Special Todd, we're coming for you. And Perry, you can be on their side because that's how it's going to be. And you're not going to want to mess with us.
Can I watch from the corner?
You can put it on there
Maybe.
because that would be even...
Maybe is a very good answer.
We may block you.
Yeah,
But
you may be able to listen from the corner. I don't know about watch. but-
Yeah, I'll have it like in my headphones or
yeah,
something.
yeah.
We're gonna
We'll have
come.
AirPods.
and we're going to
And then
run
when
all
it's
over
snowing
you.
or raining outside, and I was like, anyway.
So that's it. High proof hot take. Not even a lobby for me to be a judge, huh? Or
I
referee.
will work on it. I'm very
Nope,
sorry.
not now. It ain't ever happening again because I'm doing my own thing that night, same time they do it. Mark it down.
Tips and bits.
Tips and bits. That's the segment of the show where we recommend something, and it's not always whiskey related. Just TV show, comic book, maybe some music,
video games,
anything like that. Video games. So. Logan, do you have something other than whiskey that you would recommend to somebody?
Yeah, absolutely. So, other than whiskey, my biggest passion is guitars. I actually build
this
guitars.
guy. There you go.
Right.
Yeah, so I built
guitars.
a silver sparkle telly last week.
Really?
Yeah, I'll show you pictures of it.
Yeah, please do.
But yeah, so made that. I'm a big music person, so I've been to probably over 200 concerts in my life.
Oh
like,
my gosh!
Seen Barry Manilow on like the
go
Capitol steps, like wild stuff. But,
so I went to last year see Tommy Emmanuel the same day that Jeff Beck died.
Really?
Yeah, and he played. Oh my gosh, dude!
Yes.
That is beautiful.
Dang, how many of those you built, Perry?
One. It was a Stratocaster, and I don't have it anymore. I sold it.
I'll show you my Strat too. I'm a Fiesta Red guy, so
okay, yeah.
Oh, that's pretty.
Yeah, yep.
If I ever buy a Fiesta Red Strat, it's only going to be to remake the Monterey Pop Hendrix Strat.
Yep. So they actually sell remakes of it.
I know they do, but
it's just not the same.
I would rather. Okay. This is where we lose some people, and I'm sorry, but whatever. I would rather buy like a Fiesta Red body and have somebody who can like accurately repaint the original design of the Monterey Pop Jimi Hendrix Strat. And then, put in whatever pickups I want, because those original the pickups that they put into the repros that came out a few years ago were just kind of like standard Fender,
like I was gonna say, like made in Mexico.
Yeah,
pickups.
exactly.
Yeah,
they weren't. There wasn't anything special about them. So yeah. Anyway,
yeah, I got mid scoop pickups for that one. Like
okay, so we're both
Eric
all right.
Clapton, John Mayer type guys.
All right.
John Mayer.
All right. We're speaking each other's language now.
But yeah, so my one recommendation. Like I said, I'm a big music fan. Two things, two artists on Spotify. One is called Hancock and Shouse. Okay. They're a bluegrass band from here in Lexington, have about 500 listeners a month. But Arthur Hancock, was one of the ones that helped find Tyler Childers, Sturgill Simpson, and got like Red Barn Radio off the ground.
Well, let us tell you about Sturgill Simpson for a second.
Okay.
His cousin is currently sitting at the table with you.
Really?
Yeah, opposite of you.
Really?
Yeah. Eastern Kentucky.
So I have a denim jacket that my sister made me that says "Life ain't fair and the world is mean" on the back of it.
It's amazing.
Yeah, that I wear at all my concerts. But
that's awesome.
Other band I've been a big fan of is Susto. So Susto is a band based out of Charleston. They originally started off as like a punk Green Day-esque band, but then moved to indie.
Okay.
Really great.
Nice.
So last year I bought a Silver Sky SE.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
The guy replaced a couple of different parts on it, but I absolutely love this guitar. My main one though, hang on, sorry. Again, love y'all for listening through this.
Yeah, thanks for putting up with us. Yeah. Yep, a Mock Sand Silver Sky is on my wish list. That and a D28, like that's
my main guitar is this
okay.
Strat.
I love that. Yeah.
So
yeah.
it was originally a Highway 1 Sunburst.
Okay.
I put everything else is stock other than the neck and the pick guard. The neck was Musicraft or All Music or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It was closer to like the Stevie Ray, John Mayer thing.
I'm gonna go pee pee while you all talk.
But
guitars.
Okay. That's fine. Love you, buddy.
But yeah, I mean that's when I'm not doing bourbon. I either read or build guitars. I mean, those are my two hobbies. I'm building a Novo inspired one right now. It's like an offset. I know I'm probably speaking your language.
You are.
But yeah, I mean, for me, it's like I kind of have to always be doing something, like making some progress. So like that silver sparkle telly was one of the big things. I was like, okay, I love Don Rich, I love Buck Owens, like let me build one of these, except I want it like Sturgill sounding, so I put Hot Rails pickups in the neck, so it's a little more distortion, a little more kind of lively. Then I have a Strat that's a Jerry caster in the works.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was gonna say, are you a big Grateful Dead fan?
I'm a huge Grateful Dead fan.
Okay, so
so you're getting like into the more like alligator style of his or actually, are you doing like the double humbucker kind of thing?
I've done.
God, we are getting so nerdy with this.
Yeah. So triple humbuckers.
Oh my gosh!
Seymour Dunklin Antiquities in the bridge and neck. A Firebird mini humbucker in the middle position. I've got coil splits for each one of those. A sweet switch, which is essentially like the Santana mod to
right.
for impedance. Yep.
Yeah.
Have one of those, and then also have an all pickup switch. So I think all in all, there's 27 different tonal varieties.
That's insane.
Absolutely stupid.
That's insane.
Yeah. But,
oh my gosh. Yeah. All right. Okay.
Again, thanks for putting up with us.
No. But so you're doing it like on a Strat body.
Yeah.
Okay. So is it a hollow body or just a regular like solid body?
So Strat? Regular solid body. It has a pull route, so essentially just like plunged all through.
Yeah.
And then all the wiring is sitting attached to the
Are you doing 21 or 22 frets?
21.
Okay. Gotcha.
But it's a relic body as well. It's a relic sunburst body. Yeah.
Maple or rosewood?
It's rosewood.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. My telly was a flamed maple. Neck.
Gotcha.
And like flame maple like fingerboard. I saw it was only on the back of the neck, and then like showed up, and then it was all along the frets. I was like, okay, I really looked out on this one.
I can't believe how just insanely nerd guitar nonsense we've gotten with this. But yeah, I've been a guitar player since I was 12.
That's awesome.
And yeah, I mean it's just when I'm also not doing bourbon stuff, I'm also a guitar player.
Yeah, well, I'm not even going to get into Dumbles. I can spend all day on
no,
that.
I would love to play. Just even play a Dumble one day would be.
I was going to say, you may have to have me back for just a guitar podcast.
Okay, yeah. I mean, if we want to actually start a guitar podcast, I would be all about it.
Yeah. We'll figure it out.
Yeah. Anyway, Eric.
Yeah.
What do you have?
I know the basic chords of a guitar. That's it.
Hey, that's all you need.
GCD.
I was the singer screamer in my band, so I let the guitar people do their thing, and they always argued about stuff, and I just waited until they said sing. So, but I appreciate a good. My favorite guitar was Gibson SG because I just like the way.
Great choice.
I love the shape,
Gibson
and I thought
SG.
it always looked cool. Going on what I would recommend. I finished Cobra Kai. Cobra Kai was, I've talked about seasons of Cobra Kai before.
You have, yeah.
I love Karate Kid. It was, one of those movies I grew up on and all that. And I think it's one of the best, like, nostalgia, bring back, let's make a show about something old. And, like, they just went full, like, fan service with it. Like, they didn't care if, like, they're bringing back all the characters from the old show. They're just doing so predictable things. It's I always call it my favorite, like, live action anime.
Yeah.
Because it is. It's like there's training arcs, and there's like the good guys becoming friends with the bad guys, and like they're all a team. Then they got to all combine to go against one big bad guy, and they really ended this show like perfectly. Like Cobra Kai is done. Like if you want to watch it and binge it, like it's all done now. And they went full like fan service at the end, made it. I knew exactly what I wanted to see, and they did it. And it's just really good. And now there's like a Karate Kid Legends movie coming out.
With Jackie Chan and
they're
Ralph
combining
Macchio.
all that.
And,
it'll be
Macchio's
exciting.
in it. It's going to be good. It's going to be good.
I hope so.
It will.
Do we both watch? Let's make a cult or?
I haven't watched it yet.
I've heard.
Okay.
I was gonna say that's Stavros, right?
Yeah, it is Stavi, baby.
Stavi.
Yeah.
I haven't got a chance to watch it.
Well, I will hold off on talking about it then.
Okay, we'll
It's
talk
coming to
about it
Louisville in April. I guess I'm gonna have to go.
Oh, we are. Oh, okay. Well, then we'll all three be there then.
Yeah.
Because I huge fan of Stavi.
Yeah,
Me too. Me too.
We'll talk about that more off air. Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man just wrapped up on Disney Plus. Arguably the best Spider-Man show since Spectacular Spider-Man. Spectacular Spider-Man?
Animated Spider-Man back before that? Maybe I'm just the old person here.
What do you mean?
Back in the day when X-Men and Spider-Man were
No, that's what I'm saying. Like,
was it I thought it was Amazing Spider-Man.
No, I'm saying like there was Spider-Man in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
There was Spectacular Spider-Man. No. Right? With Josh Keaton as Spider. Anyway, it doesn't matter. There was the one that came out in like the mid 2000s.
Yeah. With
that was really good.
Josh and Drake voice actor.
No. That's Ultimate Spider-Man.
Okay.
That was not very good.
Okay. Yeah. I don't think so.
This show was exceptionally good. I really, really enjoyed it. I wish though that it had been given. It was a 10 episode season that was dropped over 4 weeks. So they did it in like 2 episode, 3 episode, 3 episode, 2 episode chunks. So it was like they were trying to get rid of it almost. And now it's being picked up for a second season. And I don't know. It felt like it just was not being given the respect that it deserved because, again, like it is the best Spider-Man show that has come out in a long time. And also, it's better than the Spider-Man that we got in the MCU. Like I will die on this hill. Mm-hmm. Like I don't think that Tom Holland is a bad Spider-Man by any means. But this story is way more compelling. He is a more fleshed out teenage Spider-Man. And I think that they didn't give enough patience with allowing people to like fully enjoy this story. But anyway, now we're like anxiously waiting for the next season to come out. But anyway, speaking of seasons, I finally got around to finishing up Don to Don. Which so good, man.
It's about time.
I know. I'm sorry, but it was so worth the wait. One of the best animes I've ever watched. I just cannot recommend it enough. So much fun, so weird, so bizarre, so off the wall.
That's anime.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I know.
That's anime.
But, yeah. That's TIMBP.
That's TIMBP. Weird. Weird, off the wall.
That's having a special guest on the show too, Logan.
Yes.
Thank you so much for
appreciate you, man.
Well, thank y'all for having me,
yeah,
for listening to me rant.
Yeah.
Rant, talk about guitars, like bring.
Dude, I was not expecting us to have a little guitar nerd fest either.
I was gonna say I'm gonna be banned from here on out. I feel
no,
like
no, absolutely not. You're gonna be on every third week.
I got a few people on the ban list, and you're not on. Yeah, so.
It's good to hear I'm not blacklisted.
No, you're not, Jared. But that's it. It's an episode. What?
Do you want to do the plugs?
The plugs? We have plugs? Oh. Yeah, we got plugs. If you want to go to patreon.com/mybourbonpodcast.
You forgot.
No, I didn't. I didn't know if we were ready to do that part or not. Yeah, maybe I was going to let the guests plug themselves. I don't know. We're going to save that till the last.
Logan, do you want to go
Nope. We're saving it till the last. I made the call. Patreon.com/MyBourbonPodcast for as little as $1 a month. You can support the show, but at $5, you get all the bonus stuff. You get Logan all week, uncut, just up in your face, talking about all the cool stuff. You gotta listen. I can't even give you any more hints, but that's patreon.com. The best way to follow the show, get all the bonus stuff, get this episode uncut and all the extra content. And then if you want to get some merch, you can go to bourbonshop.threadless.com. Perry puts all the designs up there. If you want to send us an email, you can send an email to thisismybourbonshop@gmail.com. If you want to send us some stuff, you can send it to the P.O. Box. P.O. Box?
22609 Lexington, Kentucky, 40522.
Yep.
Eric's going to remember it one day.
Nah, I don't feel like it.
I know.
And then if you want to call in, be like today it would have been the fourth person on the episode, you can send a voicemail or a text message to 859-428-8253. Be part of Bell Rings. Do all that. You can also follow us on all social media. You can follow me at Whiskey Mutant. You can follow Perry at PRitter1792. You can follow Logan. Do you have a...
Yeah, at Logan Bechanan, Bechanen, or you can find us at Thornbush Whiskey or the Bond Bourbon.
Dang, he's got like 3. And then you
Too
can
many.
follow, you can follow the show as a whole at My Bourbon Pod.
What do I do?
Like this, subscribe, comment, do all the stuff. And then Logan, I'm going to send it over to you. You can anything else you want to say, plug, do.
I was gonna say I feel like I'm on Hot Ones right now, like looking at
You can. You look at that camera,
this camera,
this
camera.
Look at them all.
Finish the game.
Rolling out the red carpet for you.
Yep. So if you're in Kentucky, check out our website, thebondbourbon.com or thornbushwhiskey.com to find a store near you. We're distributed all across Kentucky in about 200 stores. But if you're outside of Kentucky, we do ship to 43 states. So check on our website and we'll ship it right to you.
Yeah, and you'll hide stuff in barrels and ship it to them.
Yeah, it'll be like a toy in a cereal box. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. There you go.
You may just have a barrel at your door. You never
Might
know.
be a toy. Might be a body. We don't know.
Bodies and barrels.
It may be me. I don't know. I mean,
you're going to put yourself in a barrel?
Ooh. Yeah, maybe like a Guinness Book of World Records type thing. Yeah,
playing the guitar.
Hey! It's like one of those birthday cakes you pop out of, right? And then he's like, maybe I need to start a cameo.
It's a bachelor party.
Yeah, I'll start a cameo and I'll do that in barrels. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Oh man. Thank y'all so much for watching, listening, enjoying the show. We appreciate y'all. We'll see you next week. Until then, though, I am Perry.
I'm Eric.
I'm Logan.
And this is My Bourbon Podcast.